Hello and a very warm welcome to a brand new edition of World Panorama with me, Frank Pereira, on Rajya Sabha Television. Over the next half an hour, we'll bring you a roundup of all the significant events to have happened around the world this week. But first, a look at the headlines. China warns that conflict could break out at any moment as tension over North Korea escalates. US deploys a Navy carrier group off the Korean peninsula. North Korea accuses Trump of raising tensions in the region. US drops mother of all bombs in Afghanistan. The largest non-nuclear device ever used in combat kills 36 suspected Islamic State militants. Former Afghan President Hamid Karzai condemns the attack. United Nations fails to adopt a draft resolution on the alleged chemical attack in Syria's Idlib province. Russia uses its veto as 10 of the 15 council members vote in favor. Egypt announces a 3-month emergency after attacks on 2 Coptic churches in the country. Measure allows authorities to make arrests and conduct searches without warrants. Well, North Korea accused Donald Trump of raising tensions in the region and warned that the regime could conduct nuclear tests when it sees fit. Meanwhile, China has warned that conflict could break out at any moment as tension over North Korea escalated. Foreign Minister Wang Yi said if war occurred, there could be no winner. Wang Yi's comments came as the US voiced increasing concern at North Korea's development of nuclear weapons and deployed a Navy carrier group off the Korean peninsula. China, North Korea's only backer, fears conflict could cause the regime to collapse and create problems on its border. China is concerned any conflict could lead to a huge refugee problem on its border with North Korea. But in a sign of growing frustration with its neighbor, it recently blocked coal imports from the north. Trump and China's President Xi Jinping have been in contact by phone since their summit last weekend in Florida, and media reports have quoted US officials as saying tougher economic sanctions against North Korea are also being considered.
In regards to North Korea, we are working with international partners in order to diffuse the situation, but the bottom line is North Korea's got to change its behavior. That is an agreed position among the international community, nations that are working together on this. Thank you again very much.
Moscow is watching escalation of tension in the Korean peninsula with great concern. We call on all countries to show restraint. We warn all countries to refrain from any action that could amount to provocative steps.
Well, joining me for a chat this week to talk about this is SANDIP Kumar MISHRA, Associate Professor, Center for East Asian Studies, JNU. Thank you so much for joining me on the program. You know, as far as North Korea is concerned, clearly the tension has escalated, but where is all of this going towards?
I feel that it's not going to be a very crisis situation. Overall, actually, all the parties, they will understand the gravity of the situation, and they will come down from their, rhetorics. In my opinion, it happens almost every year, actually. It's quite a routine thing that in April, because April, South Koreans and Americans, they are having joint military exercises together. North Korean, they are having several special days. Like they have on like April 11th, Kim Jong-un, he became party chief. 13th, he became chief of their National Defense Academy. And then he became, I think, Kim Il-sung's birthday, 15th of April. 25th of April, they are having Korean People's Army anniversary. So to celebrate all these occasions, generally North Koreans, they used to have some kind of missile tests or some you can say other celebrations.
So it's a pattern then, you're saying?
Yeah, so I'm saying this pattern, the only new thing, only unique thing this year is basically that Trump has come to power. And since there's an image of Kim Jong-un being unpredictable, he's trying to say that, look, I am also equally unpredictable. And basically he's trying to, both the leaders, Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump, both of them, they are trying to decide what should be the beginning line, and from where both the countries, they are going to deal with each other.
Fair enough. You know, was there a message from Donald Trump as far as, for North Korea, you know, as far as the dropping of the bomb in Afghanistan and also carrying out the airstrikes in Syria are concerned? You know, is Trump trying to send out a message, a hidden message maybe to North Korea as well?
Definitely, because in case of American policy towards North Korea, in last few years, they have put their policy of sanctions and pressure on North Korea, and that's clearly not working. We have seen in last 4 years, Kim Jong-un had more than 41 missile tests. He had actually 4 actually missile tests, nuclear tests after that. So it's not, pressure is not working. So basically Americans have been looking for something more. And that more is basically that threatening that if you have nuclear or missile tests, we can not only put sanctions and pressures through United Nations Security Council resolutions, but we are also going to have some kind of say preemptive strike. So basically they are trying to move beyond those pressures and sanctions which come via UN Security Council resolutions. So basically they have been trying to do that.
China's role is extremely crucial in all of this. China has also asked North Korea to show restraint this time around, and also asked the United States, to ensure that it doesn't do something drastic. And if war breaks out or if a strike happens, then whoever does it first is going to be the party that's going to be blamed, is what China has been saying. So China plays a big role, doesn't it? I
fully agree. Actually, that's the important part of, you can say, in the whole tug of war between United States and North Korea, when two leaders who are looking to be trying to portray themselves as unpredictable and very harsh and very strong leaders. I think China is in a difficult situation, because you need to understand that China doesn't want a missile-equipped or say nuclear North Korea, a provocative North Korea, but at the same time China does want that North Korean survival must be ensured. So China wants to survive, you can say, survival of North Korea. At the same time they don't want to, so basically in this tension situation, in this, you can say, war of words between America and North Korea, and basically both the party, when they are saying that they can go for preemptive strike, China's position is that whoever starts something is going to be blamed. So suppose if North Korea starts something preemptive on Americans, then I think China probably would be in a difficult situation to support North Korea.
Will China then take a back seat and maybe even say to the United States that you can do what you want now, since North Korea is the first party to have struck?
That's quite probable, because if you look at Global Times and other, you can say, Chinese semi-official media houses, you can see that gradually these positions have been articulated, that if North Korea behaves in a very irresponsible manner, and if they start something preemptive, then China doesn't have to necessarily support North Korea. But in my case, it seems to me that China is also aware, and actually all the leaders, tomorrow American Vice President Pence is actually going to visit. He's going to have a 10-day visit. So 2 days he's going to stay, tomorrow and day after tomorrow, in Seoul. So in case all these situations are so, because both the party, they are probably just daring each other to say preemptive action, but they know that if we start first, our situation would be in a problematic, you can say, ground. And that's why they have been also having some kind of restraint, just by talking about difficult, you can say, hard choices, but not actually moving forward.
All right, fine. All right. Thank you so much, SANDIP Kumar Mishra, for joining us on the program and putting things into perspective for us. Posturing, as of now, remains to be seen what really happens in the future. Now, moving on, of course, as many as 36 suspected Islamic State militants were killed in Afghanistan on Thursday night when the US dropped the largest non-nuclear bomb ever used in combat. While President Trump called it another successful job, former Afghan President Hamid Karzai condemned the attack. Here's more.
America's most lethal non-nuclear bomb, also known as the mother of all bombs, hit Islamic State targets in Afghanistan on Thursday evening. The 30-foot-long destruction device weighed close to 22,000 pounds. Called the GBU-43B Massive Ordnance Air Blast Bomb, it reportedly killed 36 suspected militants in Achin district in the Nangarhar province. The entire base was flattened in the first ever instance of such a weapon being used in battle.
Very, very proud of the people. Really another successful job. We're very, very proud of our military. Just like we're proud of the folks in this room, we are so proud of our military, and it was another successful event.
We targeted a system of tunnels and caves that ISIS fighters used to move around freely, making it easier for them to target U.S. military advisors and Afghan forces in the area. The United States takes the fight against ISIS very seriously, and in order to defeat the group, we must deny them operational space, which we did. The United States took all precautions necessary to prevent civilian casualties and collateral damage as a result of the operation.
Witnesses felt the ground shaking after the explosion, although villages about 3 miles from ground zero were unaffected by the blast.
The bomb was dropped last night around 8 o'clock on ISIS positions and caves. It was really powerful and it has been used to destroy all their tunnels and caves. There were ISIS bases over there and they had activities in those areas. Last night's bomb was really huge. When it dropped everywhere, it was shaking. This is a positive move that Daesh was eliminated. No civilians were there at all.
Former President of Afghanistan Hamid Karzai was among the first to condemn the attack, stating that this is not the war on terror but the inhuman and most brutal misuse of his country as a testing ground for new and dangerous weapons. He added, "It is upon us Afghans to stop the USA." Thursday's strike came even as US President Donald Trump dispatched his first high-level delegation to Kabul amid uncertainty about his plans for the nearly 9,000 American troops stationed in Afghanistan. However, the use of the weapon sent a powerful signal that the IS is on top of the US administration's target list. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but still to come, UN Security Council fails yet again to pass a resolution condemning last week's chemical weapons attack that killed dozens of people in Syria. Permanent member Russia vetoes the resolution which sought to condemn the killings. That and much more still to come. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, with a no vote from permanent member Russia, the United Nations Security Council failed to adopt a resolution that would have condemned the reported use of chemical weapons in Syria. While 10 of the Council's 15 members voted in favor, Russia rejected the text as permanent member. China, as well as non-permanent members Ethiopia and Kazakhstan, abstained. Here's more.
The United States told Russia at the United Nations that it's isolating itself by continuing to support Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. UN Syria mediator Staffan de Mistura warned the Security Council that the fragile progress in peace talks was now in grave danger.
Let us view this moment of crisis, and it is a moment of crisis, as a watershed and an opportunity perhaps for a new level of seriousness in the search for a political solution. This fragile progress is indeed in grave danger. This outrage shocked the conscience of the whole human family. And I'm ready to reconvene talks in May. And the UN is ready to offer a real substantive starting point for discussion and negotiations among the Syrians.
Russia is blocking a push by Western powers to bolster support for international inquiries into the April 4th toxic gas attack in Syria. It will be Moscow's 8th veto in support of the Assad government since the Syrian war began 6 years ago.
To my colleagues from Russia, you are isolating yourselves from the international community every time one of Assad's planes drop another barrel bomb on civilians, and every time Assad tries to starve another community to death. People not just in the West, but across the Middle East and the world are speaking out against Assad's brutality. It is long past time for Russia to stop covering for Assad. It is long past time for Russia to push seriously for peace and not continue to be part of the problem.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Wednesday that trust has eroded between the two countries under President Donald Trump as Moscow delivered an unusually hostile reception to Secretary of State Rex Tillerson in a face-off over Syria.
I'm amazed that this was the conclusion. No one has yet visited the site of crime. How do you know that? Madam President, I would ask you to make sure that the rules of procedures of this meeting is respected. If some of the members speak insultingly, I cannot accept that you insult Russia. You're doing everything to make sure that this kind of cooperation is undermined. This is why you didn't say anything about the political process and didn't even listen to the MISHRA's briefing.
On Wednesday, the United Nations failed to adopt a draft resolution on the alleged chemical attack in Syria's northwestern province of Idlib. Among 15 council members, 10 voted in favor. Bolivia and the council's veto-wielding power, Russia, voted against. China, Ethiopia and Kazakhstan abstained. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi declared a 3-month emergency in Egypt and ordered military special forces to protect vital infrastructure. This comes after the Islamic State terror group triggered 2 powerful blasts in churches that killed at least 44 people and wounded more than 100 others. Both attacks took place on Palm Sunday, a week before Coptic Easter, with Pope Francis scheduled to visit Egypt later this month.
A 3-month emergency has been imposed in Egypt after the attacks on 2 Coptic churches that left at least 44 dead. The Egyptian parliament on Monday approved the measure that now allows authorities to make arrests and search people's homes without warrants.
The first step will be the declaration of the state of emergency after the necessary legal and constitutional procedures are complete for 3 months in Egypt. This is only to protect our country and secure it, and to prevent any interference with it.
Calling for national unity, Sisi urged the media to refrain from coverage that could be harmful.
Today, a decision was taken to form a higher committee for combating terrorism and extremism in Egypt. There will be a law which will give committee a power to allow the execution of what is required to control the whole situation.
The Islamic State has claimed the attacks that came on Palm Sunday, considered one of the holiest days in the Christian calendar. In the first attack, a suicide bomber targeted St. George's Coptic Church in Tanta, where 27 people were killed. The next target was the St. Mark's Coptic Church in Alexandria, where 17 people were killed.
We were all being searched. While they were searching the bomber, they found something, and when he was arrested, he pushed the button and blew himself up. The 2 police officers were also blown up, and the explosion hit all the people in the vicinity. These are terrorist attacks aiming to target the unity of Egyptian people, and this will never happen. We know that terrorism exists everywhere. There should be an international unity to end terrorism.
Pope Francis, who is due to visit Egypt later this month, expressed his deepest condolences to all Egyptians and the head of the Coptic Church.
To all the dear Egyptian nation, I express my deep condolences. I pray for the dead and injured, and I am close in spirit to the entire community. May the Lord convert the hearts of people who sow terror, violence and death.
The assault is the latest on a religious minority increasingly targeted by Islamist militants. It is also a challenge to President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who has pledged to protect them as part of his campaign against extremism. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, India and Australia came together on Monday to call for cooperation among the nations. On the second day of his 4-day visit to India, Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull indicated his country is resolved to join the India-led International Solar Alliance and agreed to supply uranium to India. At his summit meeting in Delhi with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Turnbull spoke of the need for both nations to take their relations to the next level.
India and Australia signed 6 deals, including one to boost counter-terrorism after talks with visiting Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull and Prime Minister Narendra Modi at Hyderabad House on Monday. Both nations also agreed to enhance cooperation in civil aviation security, environment, wildlife, sports and medicine. Implementation arrangement between ISRO and Geoscience Australia on cooperation in Earth observation and satellite navigation was also signed. The two leaders held comprehensive discussions on bilateral, regional and international issues of mutual interest and concern.
Our flagship joint research fund, the Australia-India Strategic Research Fund, is Australia's largest with any country, and it's helped our universities, research institutions and companies to solve the practical challenges in critical areas to both countries, including health, food security and energy, as you've noted. But there's room for further growth. We've worked closely with India to meet our respective requirements for the provision of fuel for India's civil nuclear program.
Our future is deeply tied to peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific. We therefore agree on the need for a secure and rule-based Indo-Pacific. I would also like to thank Prime Minister for Australia's decision to join the International Solar Alliance.
Earlier in the day, the Australian Prime Minister was accorded a ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. He also called on External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and visited Rajghat. Turnbull arrived in India on Sunday on his first visit after assuming office in 2015. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, much else has unfolded around the world this week. Here's a roundup of the other international news in Globe Watch.
Iran's President Hassan Rouhani has registered to run for a second 4-year term in the elections to be held in May. He will face frontrunner Ibrahim Raisi, who is close to the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, and former President Mohammad Ahmadinejad. Rouhani came to power in 2013 with a landslide victory. Thousands of people were evacuated from villages near Damascus under a swap deal between the Syrian government and insurgents. Some 5,000 people were evacuated from 2 pro-government areas near Aleppo, while over 2,000 opposition fighters were moved from 2 opposition-held areas near the capital Damascus. The evacuations form part of a deal to evacuate some 30,000 Syrians from pro-government and pro-rebel besieged areas over the next 2 months. According to the Pentagon, the US sees India as a key nation for its security in the Asia-Pacific region. The Trump administration has reportedly started the process of implementing the recent designation of India as a major defense partner. The comments come weeks after US Defense Secretary had a successful meeting with National Security Advisor Ajit Doval at the Pentagon. Reports claim Doval's American counterpart, Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster, is slated to visit India soon. United Nations Children's Fund has said that the use of children as suicide bombers by terror group Boko Haram has surged in 2017, calling it a massive violation of young people's rights. UN said 27 children have been used in suicide attacks by the group in the first 3 months of the year.
Well, let's now shift gears and bring you up to speed with some sports news from around the world in our segment Sports Action.
German police detained a suspect with Islamist links following a bomb attack on the bus of the Borussia Dortmund football team. The man, a 26-year-old Iraqi identified only as Abdul Basit Al-O, arrived in Germany last year via Turkey. The Borussia Dortmund bus was hit by 3 explosions from pipe bombs as it drove from the team's hotel to their home stadium in Dortmund on Tuesday night. Spanish defender Marc Bartra was injured by shrapnel, as was a police officer. The Champions League match the team was due to play against AS Monaco was rescheduled and took place a day later, which the Germans lost 3-2. Cristiano Ronaldo struck twice as Real Madrid edged past Bayern Munich 2-1 in the first leg of their Champions League quarter-final clash at the Allianz Arena in Munich on Thursday. It was Bayern who made the breakthrough first when Arturo Vidal scored in the 25th minute. Just 2 minutes after the break, Madrid levelled through Ronaldo's first goal in the tournament since September last year. In the 77th minute, the Portuguese striker scored his 100th goal in European competition to give Madrid the win. The two sides will now lock horns in the second leg of their last state tie on April 19. Luis Enrique's hopes of clinching this year's Champions League title suffered a major blow as Paulo Dybala scored twice to help Juventus trounce Barcelona 3-0 in the Champions League in Turin on Wednesday. Juventus remained in possession throughout the match, with striker Dybala putting his side ahead as early as in the 7th minute of the match. Barcelona, on the other hand, were struggling for fluency, but a moment of star striker Lionel Messi's magic almost helped them to level the score in the 21st minute of the match. 18-time Grand Slam champion Roger Federer and Spanish tennis maestro Rafael Nadal have confirmed their participation in the Swiss indoors in Basel to be played later this year. Federer, who is a record 7-time winner at the ATP 500 event, last played against his arch-rival Nadal in the 2015 final, where he came out victorious in a 3-set thriller. The duo will be joined by world number 3 Stan Wawrinka and Japan's Kei Nishikori. The tournament will begin on October 23rd and will run until October 28th. Mercedes chief executive Toto Wolff has said that his team have adopted an underdog mentality as they are expecting a ping-pong battle with Ferrari for the remainder of the 2017 season. 3-time world champion Lewis Hamilton took Mercedes back to the top of the podium in last weekend's Chinese Grand Prix after Sebastian Vettel won the season-opening Australian Grand Prix in his Ferrari. Following the two races, the pair are level on points in the Drivers' Championship, and Wolff believes that pattern would continue to develop as the season progresses.
And finally, Star Wars is beefing up its girl power through a new series of animated short movies featuring the sci-fi saga's heroines, including Princess Leia, Rey and Erso. Walt Disney Company and Lucasfilm announced on Thursday that Star Wars Forces of Destiny will focus on the untold stories of everyday heroism that shape the destinies of the main female characters in the franchise. The 2 to 3 minute shorts will be launched on Disney YouTube in July and followed by more shorts on Disney Channel television. I'm going to leave you with these visuals. Until next time, this is Frank Pereira signing off.